webinar ero certo della sua risposta positiva, ma quando mi ha confermato la data ero felicissimo. Dovete sapere che nel percorso di internazionalizzazione che ho fatto, il primo straniero che ho incontrato è stato proprio lui, era il 2011. Volevo conoscere il mercato inglese e gli ho proposto di mandare un nostro dipendente presso la loro agenzia per una settimana a conoscere le logiche di Google UK e capire come loro lavoravano. E ho proposto il contrario, evidentemente, ho chiesto loro di mandare uno dei loro da noi. Da allora abbiamo iniziato la nostra collaborazione e amicizia. Pensate, posso dire che ho visitato e frequentato tutti gli uffici che la sua società ha cambiato in questi anni, che al momento sono 3, ma forse potrei dire già 4, ma non lo dico perché ancora. Gli posso dire che Mintwist, perché è così che si chiama la sua azienda, era all'inizio una piccola agenzia nella periferia di Londra e oggi è diventata, in soli 8 anni, una delle major della capitale inglese. E Elliott è un professionista molto conosciuto e stimato. Abbiamo costituito insieme Ranking Road e creato l'approccio Glocal, che è diventato il nostro elemento identificativo. Il mercato inglese dal punto di vista e-commerce è il mercato più importante di Europa. È indispensabile conoscere quindi le abitudini e i consumi per ottenere buone performance in questo mercato. Oggi, attraverso l'intervento di Elliott, avremo senz'altro maggiori informazioni. Cedo a te la parola, Elliott.
Thank you very much, Antonio, for that kind introduction. And thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. Okay, so I'll start off by giving an overview of the UK market from a digital perspective. And I'll give you some stats here, but I'll also try to share the insights behind the stats. And once we've gone through these, I'll sort of finish off by talking about a strategic approach that we would recommend really any supplier of any product and or service almost in any sector. So it's a kind of a generic approach to digital marketing, and it's certainly one that we think would work for any Italian companies that are looking to enter the UK or grow in the UK market. So UK, you know, it's a relatively large country, but as Antonio has already intimated, it's quite mature digitally. So the penetration, meaning the number of people accessing the internet, is, you know, it's approaching 100%. It's a very high penetration of people relative to other markets that are active on social media channels. So that's a particular trend that's particularly, you know, relevant for the UK market in terms of the way consumers are researching products and services. Social media has always been important, but it's becoming increasingly important relative to some other channels. So the growth indicators relative to other markets are not particularly high year on year, these growth indicators, but that's a function really of the already high penetration levels that we just spoken about. The thing to note here is the relative growth of social media, of penetration of social media, is higher than the real terms growth of the population, significantly higher, which means that social media as a channel is reaching all forms of the market, meaning, you know, people, older people, as well as just the traditional young people that we would have seen on social media channels. So let's look at the most used digital platforms, really. That's what this slide is talking about here. And there's a few things here. The first one is that YouTube as a platform is reaching 78% of internet users. So we've already said that it's 81% of the UK population are using the internet, and actually it's 80% of that chunk are using YouTube. And remember, these stats are people who use it in the past month. So they're using, we can intimate that they're using these channels on a regular basis, or at least a semi-regular basis. So the penetration of YouTube, which is obviously a video format based channel, is very, very high. And it's not just a channel that's, as some people might think, reaching a very specific part of the population, i.e. young people and children. The platform, you know, is reaching all parts or all sorts of demographics within this market. In the following presentation, we'll talk more about video, so we'll leave it there for YouTube. So the other thing that's interesting here is obviously Facebook's in second place. It's a very, you know, widely used social media channel, and it's still the biggest globally, and that's true in the UK as well. But what's coming in third and fourth place here, and significantly above a lot of other channels, are WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. So again, just to sort of clarify, to make sure that people understand, so Facebook have bought WhatsApp, Facebook own WhatsApp, Facebook obviously also own Instagram, and Facebook own Facebook. So the three messenger platforms, Instagram Messenger, Facebook Messenger, and WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger being the two biggest ones, are completely controlled by Facebook. And why is this important? Well, it's important because there is a growing trend, and this is what this graph is showing us here, that a lot of conversations are happening in private messaging channels. So WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, as opposed to Facebook or Instagram, is a private messaging channel. In the UK, this is sometimes referred to as the dark web. So it's dark, meaning we as marketers don't have access to those conversations unless we're within those conversations. So, you know, what does this mean? It means that we as marketeers have to be open to joining niche conversations, which means conversations with a limited number of people. And in some ways, this webinar that we're talking about here is an example of that. There's a collection of, you know, some tens of people having a conversation about a specific topic. You know, yes, this video might be taken and it might be available for replay, but at the point of the conversational element of this content, so the Q&A at the end, it's a dark web conversation. So WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, we as marketers, we as brands have to understand that we're going to probably need, going forward, to have more niche focused conversations. So the challenge to us as marketeers is how can you have niche focused conversations at scale? It's an interesting challenge, and we'll talk more about it when we go into video. So the e-commerce penetration in the UK market, you know, is very, very high. It's at 81% of any internet using individual has made a purchase within the last month online. Now, these stats that I'm sharing with you come from January this year. It's almost certainly the case. There's a great deal of anecdotal evidence that says that these numbers, the e-commerce penetration, will significantly increase from its already high level because of the crisis. So there's plenty of sectors of the population, you know, specifically people over the age of 65 who traditionally wouldn't have considered e-commerce as a way to buy their weekly shopping, for example, their weekly food shopping. They have been, you know, forced by necessity into becoming e-commerce active users. So there's plenty of anecdotal evidence about this. You know, the hard evidence, I'm sure, will be coming very soon. The other thing to note here is that over 50%, 54% of internet users have made a purchase via a desktop or computer, and it's 38% that have made a purchase via the mobile device. So mobile friendly e-commerce is very, very, very important for anyone looking to set up an e-commerce shop or grow their existing e-commerce functions. So you have to have a mobile app, or at the very least a mobile responsive site that's going to work on mobile. If you don't have that, you're going to be missing out on a significant and fast growing portion of e-commerce users. So when we look at the e-commerce spend by categories, you know, it's high across the board. They're all in the billions, except for digital music, which is just under 1 billion per year. The largest one is the travel sector. So, you know, I'm sure we can all imagine this sector has probably been disrupted by e-commerce, more than any other, and that's reflective in the very large amount of spend going into that particular sector. But really, any form of retail commerce, whether it's furniture, food, electronics, fashion, beauty, toys, DIY, all of these sectors, if they didn't already have an e-commerce strategy, those ones that didn't have certainly been scrambling to put one in place over the last few months. And if we look again, all categories are rising fast. And again, these numbers will probably be boosted significantly because of the crisis over the last few months. So the trends to look out for really are, pretty much what we've been saying already. It's already a very large number, the e-commerce, but it's growing very quickly, and it will be growing even quicker going forward because of the crisis. And the mobile as a share of B2C commerce transaction value is probably the most important trend there. We've got to have a mobile app and/or a mobile responsive website that's going to support our e-commerce channels. Okay, so I thought I'll just sort of close off by wrapping up some of what we've been speaking about, but more importantly, our experience of working with clients who, as Antonio said, 95% of what we do as Ranking Road is helping clients to grow their sales, or if they're a services business, helping them to grow their sales leads. And so when we talk about marketing strategy going forward, and we look at all of the trends that are going on, this is the advice that comes out of Mint Twist and Ranking Road. So the trends, let's talk about the key trends. So digital advertising, PPC, Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising, LinkedIn advertising if we're B2B, all of this stuff, absolutely works. It works really, really well. But still, not just in Italy, but in many markets, there's still a surprising number of large and well-developed companies that are not taking as much advantage of it as they could be. However, there's a large number of them who are starting. So we're still, although we might look at Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and think that they're saturated, they're not. They're actually growing. So there are more and more advertisers spending more and more money, every single month. So that increased competition is driving up the cost per click. It's absolutely not a reason not to do it. You should be doing it. And if you're not doing it already, I would encourage you to explore starting straight away, because the companies that are doing it are making an ROI, they're making a return on investment. However, because of the increased competition and because all of the way that the advertisers charge for their advertising, it's a marketplace that's automatically driven by supply and demand. So the more demand for media space on the channels, the higher the price. So it's a marketplace. That's how they work. So for that reason, the cost per click, the average cost to advertise is going up, and it's probably going to keep going up. It's not really it's not going to level off until all of the advertisers that would be on those channels are on those channels. So we're still a way off from that yet. Now, because there's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of them, they're motivated to provide more media space to advertisers because that's how they make their money. So what that's doing is squeezing the amount of the organic reach, meaning the natural awareness that we can create just by posting within our profiles in order to reach our network and the networks of our network. So that organic reach is being pushed down because more space in the feeds is being given up to advertisers. So decreased organic reach, increased competition. So these two things mean that if we as brands, and Antonio spoke very eloquently about the value and the power of brands, Italy as a marketplace, the Made in Italy is an extremely powerful brand that's recognized and loved in the UK, and the brands of your own individual organizations, you know, are obviously exceptionally important when we talk about our marketing communications. Now, when we talk about owned media, what we're saying is, as a brand, if we can create content that's interesting, you know, or valuable, or useful, or entertaining, or a number of those things for our target audience, we're more likely to be able to engage them directly with our own media, which will reduce the requirement or the reliance that we might otherwise have on advertising. Yeah. So what we're saying is we need high quality owned media that we can engage with our customers. Okay. Now, when we talk about high quality owned media, you know, what does that mean? Well, this is where the power of something like, you know, video or podcast can really come into play. So if we can create a series of episodic pieces of content, we are more likely to engage our audience over a longer period of time, and we're more likely to be able to develop our relationship with those customers so that they come to know our brands, they come to like our brand, and when they come to trust our brand, that's when they can become customers. So a progressive marketing strategy, in our opinion, relies on an owned media strategy that's probably to do with video, you know, or podcasts, you know, or events. You know, traditionally, it's been a series of blog articles. That was the digital marketing, you know, way 10 years ago. Create a series of blog articles, drive people to those blog articles, engage them on your website, and then convert them into customers. It's a similar strategy, but in 2020 and beyond, we're saying that in addition to those blog articles, we might be considering a series of video episodes and or podcast episodes that may well be focused on live and real in-person events. It's not mutually exclusive. So to reach, engage, and service our clients, we need the right people, the right tools, the right objectives, and the right KPIs. So advertising, digital advertising, you know, on Google, SEO, you know, Google PPC, Facebook advertising, LinkedIn advertising is absolutely fantastic way of reaching targeted customers, because we can reach them based on what they're searching for or by what they look like. So we can describe our demographic and target consumers. At the top of the funnel, the tools are absolutely still the digital advertising and SEO tools. But at the middle of the funnel, you know, as we've just been talking about, if we can have some high value owned media content, that's where we engage our potential customers. And at the bottom, you know, this is when we're actually, you know, providing our service or products. And depending on the industry and the product that we're talking about, we would probably have a bespoke strategy to engage our customers. So in order to sort of wrap up then, the final slide here, 5 key elements for marketing in the UK. First of all, we want to audit our potential customer behavior. So by working with Ranking Road, we can see what your potential customers in the UK market, what they look like, you know, what platforms they're on, you know, what questions they're asking. And out of the back of that, number 2, we can create a content strategy. So if we know what they're looking for in the context of your products and services, then we can create the right content that will engage those customers and introduce them to our brand. And we use advertising to connect those potential customers with our content. And what we were just saying there when we were talking about a series of episodes, so that we can have a number of touch points with our customers. We don't just reach them with one advert and expect them to immediately buy from our brand. We need to touch them a number of times, and that's where the owned media content becomes really valuable. And over time, we will build up a pipeline of customers that will come to trust, come to know our brands, like our brands, trust our brand, and then buy from our brand consistently. And so the fifth recommendation is, as Antonio absolutely rightly said, having a global strategy is fantastic, but local implementation is really important for any market, and that's certainly true of the UK as well. thank you very much for listening.